Hey, have you ever wondered what it's like to own a log home in Colorado? I want to talk about 5 things I wish I had known before I built one. Owning a log home is really rewarding, especially when it's up in the mountains. You get to ski, you get to enjoy some of the fun stuff that's up here in the Colorado mountains. But when I embarked on this adventure of owning a log home, I thought, wow, I could really share some information with some people because I pretty much did it before we saw all these YouTube videos come out where people were like, hey, think about this. I had basically the builder's information to go on, and that was kind of biased. And then I, talked to a few other people who were, prior customers. And I thought, okay, I'm getting a really selective audience here. And being as direct and as open as I am about stuff, I want to go through some of the things I wish I had known prior to embarking on this project of owning a log home and doing a lot of the construction myself. So let's get into some of these details. First thing I want to talk about is chinking. Chinking. It's this stuff right here. It's everywhere in a log home. And you will see people talking about chinking and how it's possible to avoid it, that oftentimes, you're able to, set a log and not have to worry about it. When you place logs down, what are they using in this gap right here? Chinking is, in my opinion, is necessary. And thankfully, there's a lot of companies out there that have spent some time developing products with different color tints to them so they match your logs. If you're building a log home in a different part of the country, you're going to have to pay attention to this. And it's not always quality carpentry that kind of fills these gaps. Oftentimes the chinking is just so necessary. So here's a really great example of where chinking is just so vital for aesthetics. It helps fill these gaps where dimensional lumber, which is that tongue and groove there, meets original log. So as we back away from this and you get 10, 15 feet away, the eye doesn't pick up on that seam as much. Because as I pan away and then come back to it, your eye is drawn to the log and to the dimensional lumber. It's not drawn to that seam. Chinking also makes these corner sections where you have what they call salmon lips, where the log is carved out and the next log is stacked on top of it. Before I chinked this corner, there was daylight coming through. Wish I had known that beforehand. Would have deployed a different method with the log setters in order to prevent a lot of daylight, a lot of moisture intrusion, and a lot of breezes until I was able to apply all this product in here in these gaps. This particular product is called Energy Seal, and it's made by a company called Permachink. They have locations all throughout the United States. What else do I wish I had known about owning a log home prior to building one? Settling. Settling was one of these things that I anticipated for, and the builder and the log setter, which are two different people, talked about, oh, we need to plan for this. We need to take some steps so that the settling that does occur is mitigated and doesn't damage the home. Well, let's point out some settling issues that I think could have been mitigated with some different techniques that perhaps when you build your own log home, you can talk about this with your builder and your log setter. Settling issue number one, granite is kind of just, it's stone. And if you ask it to move, it will break. So how did we build this kitchen? Well, it's set against that log wall over there, but we framed out a false wall and drywalled it. And I think the better method would have been to have floated this wall right here in the corner all the way across with the same technique that we use in Colorado Springs for basements, where it's a floating wall and they use the large 60D penny nails to allow the wall to expand up and down. Again, the same wall concept could have been deployed here because you can't mount tile to log. As you can see, there's log there. but the 2x4 framing wasn't floated. See how the tile lines don't match up? And then what ended up happening is the shower pan itself cracked. There are some other areas of obvious settling that's occurred in this home that definitely needs to be addressed. But settling, issue number 2. Let's talk about issue number 3 with building a log home that I wish I had known before. Water intrusion on a cantilever. I think that this is a poor design and it needs to be changed from the log home manufacturer's website as well as how it's deployed in your particular situation. If your deck ends up being north facing, south facing, west facing, and there's going to be snow load on it or rain, will water enter your home? Because these logs have these marks on them. Take a look at that check mark that's right there, and then the pocket that was drilled out or cut out with a chainsaw for that cantilever. Because this log right here and all the ones that span across this connection right here are sunk with these large carriage bolts. And that goes outside. Again, the chinking, it's so vital. But these check marks that run along these logs here, when this deck gathers snow or rain, it drips down through the deck boards, finds a check mark that runs through the log and into the home. I think a cantilever that runs into the home really needs to be engineered and waterproofed considerably more than what the builder and the log home designer is initially thinking. Issue number 4, I wish they had told me when I was thinking about building a log home in Colorado. The stain and the clear top covering that goes over the top of the stain. Logs, unlike stucco, unlike siding, unlike any of the other materials that we see on homes in Colorado, are way better at holding paint and resisting UV damage. Log is a natural product and it requires a very specific product to help protect it through the seasons and through the years so that you're not painting and restaining every single year. The particular product that I've used on here is Permachink's Ultra 7. And you can actually see way up there how that looks a lot different in the tint of the color compared to my garage. That garage is south facing, this side is west facing. And here's a pretty good comparison you can see where you can see how dark the garage is compared to the stain color here. That garage has been painted 3 times since the home was built in 2017, but the logs here have only been painted once. So think about that when you're building a log home in Colorado, the stain. Issue number 5 that I wish they had told me about building a log home, period, whether it's Colorado, Washington, or somewhere in the East, insurance. When you build a log home, you're going to be asked a set of particular questions about where the logs came from, and are they milled on site? Are they milled at a factory? Are they milled at a log mill? Are they hand hewn, H-E-W-N? Or are they what they call a D-log, where it's simply just, a cutout of a log placed on top of 2x4, 2x6, 2x8 framing? In this case here, the log company mills a log at their lumber mill with these facets that you can see. And I've lined up here so you can look over my left shoulder and see how they're faceted. That means that this 10-inch log can be replicated with ease when and if an issue were to occur. It is the mountains of Colorado. Fires happen. So you have to be prepared for that. Homeowner's insurance on a log home is very expensive compared to a stucco or a regular masonite sided home. You have to think about that when you are contemplating building a log home in Colorado. Please understand, I do not mean to throw this out there that look at me in my log home. I really just want to help those people out there that are considering building a log home. It's a lot of work. And there's actually quite a few people in my neighborhood here in Winter Park that have reached out to me for advice. And I thought, well, hey, a video on this would make a lot of sense. Why not share this to more people than, say, just a couple other potential log home owners? There are a limited number of banks, there are a limited number of builders, and there are a limited number of insurance companies that want log homes as part of their portfolio that they will serve. You need to be aware of this. This is not a regular construction project. This is a very detailed process in order to get it right, to make sure that it lasts, and that you're proud of it and happy with it when it's complete. As I always say when people ask me about it, I'm like, it's not a perfect home. There are obvious flaws, not only with the floor plan that we designed, but there's obvious flaws in how it was constructed. And these things, should be corrected. It's a log home, so it's not like you can just knock down a framed wall and reinsert a new one. It's all tied together. I mean, it's a big, mesh print operation. So if you have any questions on how to build a log home anywhere in Colorado, please reach out to me. I can be a valuable resource based on my experience of owning this log home for 6 years and building it from the ground up. So thanks so much for watching. I do appreciate it, and I look forward to talking to you on the next video.